This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. Polls show Christian leaders frequently more likely LGBT friendly than their church members. While some branches of Christianity are strongly associated with anti-LGBTQ plus values, their actual religious leaders might not be. An expert told Newsweek why that might be. That's the latest news from a recent study from the Public Religion Research Institute, which surveyed more than 3,000 clergy who lead congregations from 7 largest Protestant denominations. The Christian leaders were overwhelmingly in favor of laws that protect gay, lesbians, bisexual, and transgender people against discrimination in jobs, public accommodations, and housing, with 90% supporting this across the denominations. The slight variation in the data came from the American Baptist Church clergy, who trailed a bit behind in their support at just 80%. Still, the religious leaders were far more likely to support non-discrimination laws for LGBTQ people than their own church goers, who only supported the protective laws at 71%. Region also played a role when it came to the tendency of the Christian leaders to favor protection for the LGBTQ plus community. Only 86% of rural clergy supported the laws compared to 93% and 95% of suburban and urban religious leaders, respectively. Taking it a step further, Christian leaders were also overwhelmingly likely to support same-sex marriage, with 79% in favor across all Protestant churches.
Hello.
What do you want to go with that? Yeah, as I was thinking about this service, like, I'm sure that if this was a survey about integration, these numbers will be probably, somewhere in the same category, a little bit differently. Yeah. Women clergy, somewhat same category. Gay folks coming into church as clergy and deacons. And this specific survey is about, gays and lesbians, how the leaders of these denominations look at them, and that they are more favorably supportive than their church goers. And hopefully that will be a good conversation between them and their church goers to say, what's the disconnect, and how do we bridge the gap within our own congregation to do these things, and how we look at people. I just was reading about another church situation that was going on, and in the Methodist Church's church trial that was happening. And the last line that I read was that they disobeyed their own law and in the canons where it says, do no harm. And so I thought about that as I was reading this. It's like, it's just, we're in the business of do no harm, people. And if it's about bridging gaps so that people can have a better life, better opportunity, not be discriminated against across the board, then let's do that work. It's tedious work, it's tiresome work, but kudos to the clergy who are leading, even though they're conservative, but kudos to them who are leading the charge on this. And, and God bless those denominations who still need that work done for them.
I have a different take on it. Slightly. Instead of kudos to the clergy, I'm going to say shame on the clergy. And here's why. Because we went to seminary with those clergy. They knew then what was right. They knew then what was good. They knew then. They loved us. They knew then. And they knew going in, but I can't do this or that because my bishop. I can't do this or that because of my board. I can't do this or that or I won't get ordained. I can't do this or that or I won't be placed. I can't do this or that or I'll be fired. And so they knew going in. They didn't just somehow see the light. They knew from day one. They took the same classes we took. They know what we know. They know that all of this prejudicial stuff that's been handed down is wrong. They knew from the start. And the reason they're ahead of their congregations is because they have not taught their congregation.
Yes.
You're a leader, lead in a direction. They have not challenged their denominational leadership. They have not become part of the denominational leadership to make a difference. They haven't taught their congregations. They haven't made open statements of support. So the reason they're ahead of their congregation is because they are closeted about their supportiveness. They can put it on a survey where they're safe and won't be outed, but I need these people to come out as allies, to come out, maybe some of them are actually queer, to come out as queer or to come out as allies, and to come out as theologians who do not believe in a hateful or exclusive or tribal or mean-spirited or sex-negative or body-negative God. And so, I guess bless them for having the right attitude. Shame on them for keeping it a secret.
My goodness, you just I just had a flashback as you were talking about in seminary.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I've been to a few seminaries. The first one, I did.
We all.
Yeah.
Lots of Loretto schoolhouses at this table.
Yes. The first one I went to, one of my classmates got up in the middle of class and said, my pastor My pastor told me, well, you've got to go to seminary, you've got to get that master's, and don't you dare bring any of that back into my church. So that just brought back such memories. I'm interested that we share numbers. And when you look at the numbers, if this were an election, this would be considered a landslide.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's not an election, and what it shows is that we still have a lot of work to do to get the Sunshine Cathedral message out to the rest of the world. And that is that you are God's miracle and not God's mistake. Until everybody understands and knows this, we're going to have surveys that show that there's work to be done.
Oh, yeah. Like you, Kevin, I remember sitting in classes and seeing classmates that actually dropped the classes and left seminary because they said, I cannot bring this back to my congregation. I will lose my job. Okay, well, maybe you need to bring that back to your congregation if we're going to be doing the work that we are called to do.
Right.
Affirming the sacred value of all people. Then we bring that to our congregation. It's an education opportunity. It's a teaching opportunity. And some, obviously, maybe not up for it, but some are.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that I'm sad, but I'm not surprised that rural churches were flagging behind. Even their attitudes are better than I would have expected. But I'm not surprised that they are. And why that makes me sad though is that rural places are often they don't have the same resources. They don't have the same numbers. They sometimes don't have the same access to education. If they do go off and get educated, they sometimes don't come back. You know, so you have a different, because they have opportunities now and they just follow those opportunities. So rural places are smaller, more conservative, because maybe they're shrinking. They do become sort of enclosed and protective to keep what they've got or whatever. So all of that makes sense. But also, it was in those small churches, in those rural areas, where people learned to resist segregation. It's a lot of places where segregation was reinforced, but those that were learning about it, they learned in their churches because they weren't going anywhere else. Those who learned were hearing after the 50s maybe, but that racism was bad. They were hearing it in their churches. The church for rural or poor or isolated people, that is the center of education. And so these rural churches, that is a real opportunity to bring some enlightenment and some healing to their people. And by the numbers being even what they are, maybe they are trying to do that. But I do hope that rural doesn't have to mean mean. Or, I mean, I'm from a rural area, and I've been accused of being liberal is the nicest thing people call me. And so rural does not have to mean mean-spirited or hateful, but one of the places that we can learn to do better and be better is our churches, if the churches will dare to do it.
Absolutely.
Very good. We are excited to tell you about our next adventure with our Global Fellowship. In 2024, we'll be going to where the hills are alive as we explore Austria and Alpine Europe for Gay Oktoberfest. Space is extremely limited, so make sure to go to happeningout.travel/sunshine to reserve your space now.
Would you like to join the Queer God Squad on a special winter cruise in 2024? Well, now you can. You will visit Cozumel, Mexico, Grand Cayman, and Ocho Rios, and you can even add an open bar and Wi-Fi. Join us by going to happeningout.travel/sunshine.